Damn, that's a good cup of coffee. Oh, hi. Greetings, fellow insomniacs. This episode of the Creature Features podcast is being brought to you by Sinister Brew Coffee. Sinister Brew Coffee is where the art of brewing converges with the embrace of darkness. They're a small batch, family and veteran-owned coffee company, ardently dedicated to crafting horror-themed blends that not only awaken the senses, but also transcend the ordinary. Their inception stems from a shared love of both coffee and the spine-chilling world of horror within a close-knit family. The founding idea was simple yet profound, to deliver unique, immersive experiences through their coffee. So, currently, my tippy top is Bigfoot's Darkwood Maple Delight. This is a maple pecan blend, and it is fucking tremendous. Like, you open this shit up, and I'm just gonna crack this bag open, and oh my god, dude, it's a thing of beauty. But then there's also spiced eggnog, and if you're like me, the holiday season is about family or whatever, but really it's about nog, and this gives you that 100% unadulterated spiced nog, and you get Santa versus Krampus, and who doesn't love that, right? Don't take my word for it. Go to sinisterbrewcoffee.com, use the promo code CreaturePod, and get yourself some fucking coffee, dog. Get you some. They have a wide variety of flavors for you to choose from. Those two just happen to be my particular favorite, but you know, whatever you're into is A-okay with me, and they've probably got your flavor. They support us, we support you, you support them. So go to sinisterbrewcoffee.com, use the promo code CreaturePod10 at checkout, save 10% on your order. All of those things sound like things that you should be doing. Enjoy yourself some coffee and listen. Someone you trust. Son of a bitch, that's good. Greetings, fellow insomniacs, and welcome to another episode of the Creature Features podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, I am your host. My name is Chunky Larry. And back in the day, way back when I was a little itty-bitty asshole Chunky Larry, I used to go to the video store a lot. And I would spend a lot of time in the cult section of the video store. There was one specific film that was like the coup d'etat of the cult section, and it was a film by the name of Street Trash. It was Street Trash, Repo Man, Surf Nazis Must Die, but everybody knew the shit was Street Trash. And when the news came out that they were going to be remaking Street Trash, I was apprehensive as fuck. I was like, why are they doing this? They can't make this movie in this generation. We're too sensitive. Everything is moved on. And I cannot tell you how pleasantly surprised I was that this was not only not a remake, it is a loose sequel, but that they, and by they, I'm talking about the people that I have with me today, not only showed love to the original film, I think that they improved upon the original film. I have the distinct honor and privilege to talk to one of the stars and the writer-director of the 2024 film Street Trash, Ryan Krueger and Joe Vaz. How you guys doing?
Hey there, how you doing?
Ah, man, I am fucking giddy. I literally, dude, uh, when I was just like the second that I finished the film, actually, kind of halfway through the film, I was watching it and I was like, oh, I got to try this. And I immediately reached out to Ryan and I was like, dude, I love your movie. Will you please come on the show? And to make this happen as quickly as we did is like a fucking absolute pleasure to me. So
well, Ryan's a complete slut, so
Just says yes to everybody.
everything.
Hey,
I just get passed around.
So while I want to talk about Street Trash, I want to kind of, set the stage and kind of tell the story the way that I feel like it should be told. You guys back in 2020 released a film called Friedberry. Was it 2020 or 2022? Friedberry.
I think 2020. 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2020 because I was in quarantine when you premiered it.
Okay, yeah.
And that movie is so fucking unique, and it really like toes the line of counterculture and this kind of anarchic style. And it's the lead is this heroin addict that's abducted by aliens, and he goes on this entire journey. It's not even it's there's this one specific point where it's like all right, so Joe's character is in the insane asylum with was it Robert?
Ronald, Sean Michael.
Shawn Michael, yeah.
And then like there's this huge random ass escape sequence, but then there's this weird deviation where it goes into this like black and white art film. And I was like, what the fuck am I watching? And I watched that in preparation for Street Trash because I don't want to just like assume that I always try to like look at something else that you do before I watch the thing that I'm really actually there to watch. And it was kind of there where I felt like, okay, this is probably going to work for Street Trash because they are kind of kissing cousins in the terms of style. And there's a lot of like spillover where I think that the fact that the character's name is Ronald in Fried Berry and that his name is Ronald in this is
there is a lot of connections that's done on purpose. I mean, even in Fried Barry, Ronald's character and the other guy that picks Barry up, Graham Clark in the car. There's a short film that I made years before that called The Time Travelers, and it's also Ronald and his friend that picks Gary up.
Yeah.
So I try make everything connected in some way, and I did that obviously a lot with Street Trash, with Fry Barry and other stuff that I do, and I think it's just a cool to try. I think I'm early enough in my career to have done it with my first film that things get connected. And I think with looking at there's no right or wrong answer, but I mean looking at Joe's part in Fry Barry as Martini from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, even his character in Street Trash is called Chef.
Yeah.
So it's never any like a specific name. So it's left open where people might go, oh, maybe it's the same character just earlier on. But it's at the same time, it's very...
Before he was Yiddish.
Yeah, before he was Yiddish, exactly. But mental patients do crazy things, Joe. So, it's open. But you know what? It was bringing... I've worked with Joe for many, many, many years. Music videos and stuff like that. It was such a, I always said to Joe, one day I'd love to work with you and Sean on a feature film as you guys as the lead. So, when finally this came about, and I knew straight away I wanted to cast Joe, and it was just so nice, wasn't it, Joe, when we were on set that first day?
Yeah.
And and just being there and knowing, like, we finally made it. We finally did it after all this time. I mean,
We're finally getting paid.
Yes, that's the key.
Yeah.
So I want to talk kind of in terms of, and this question is for Joe, the difference of approach for Fried Berry to Street Trash, because with Street Trash, you guys are shooting on 35, and there's a little bit more that goes into the overall shooting on 35 as opposed to you shot on video for Fried Berry, correct?
Yeah.
So for you, Joe, did you feel any kind of concern or trepidation that you didn't want to let your friend down working on something like this? And what are your thoughts about that in terms of? Go ahead.
I'm old enough, and I've been doing this for long enough that I started out on 35 mil. So I'm very used to working on 35 mil. The major difference from an acting point of view, if you're directing or if you're on the production side of it, sure, it's a little more trepidatious and scary because you have fewer takes. From an actor's point of view, the turnaround is quicker because there are fewer takes, which is great. On Fried Berry, I only shot for one day on Fried Berry, and we did a lot of coverage of the escape through the hospital. We shot that section of it for most of the day, I think. Like the front section of it with the dialogue, we did that very quickly, 1 or 2 takes.
Everything in the hospital was one day. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then everything else was like the whole rest of the day, and a lot of running around and all of those scenes that were cut together. But that was necessary for that. So, no, from an acting point of view, there wasn't. I wasn't worried because this is what we do.
Yeah.
But it was. Ryan shoots fast at the best of times. Even on video, he shoots fast because he's got he's written the script and he's got the edits in his head, so he kind of knows what he needs to shoot. So there isn't overly unnecessary coverage that's being shot, or 500 different angles of a particular thing. He knows how he wants to put the thing together. So we do 2 or 3 takes from here, 2 from there, and we got it. But bang on, we move on. So it's pretty snazzy and pretty zippy.
And go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say what obviously, Joe, like you said, as an actor, we've shot on big productions with film now. Obviously, because this is a lower budget film, and it's one of those where you don't want to waste film. But what I would have to say is, I think I told everybody beforehand, we're shooting on 35. I can't overshoot stuff. Luckily, I'm one of those directors that don't overshoot stuff. But everybody just brought their A game, and there was this thing of like respect when we were shooting on film, where the discipline was just, everybody was like super quiet. Now, normally you shoot on film, you're telling somebody to shut up or be quiet, and there's noise. Everybody was just super, super focused, crew and actors. And, when we did a rehearsal or something, that would be funny and we would laugh and stuff. But when it came to the take, I don't think we've got like hardly any like blooper reels or anything like that, because everybody was just like on it the whole time, because, we didn't want to waste film. So, I thought that was very interesting, that there was this respect and discipline for shooting on film, and people were just brought their A game.
And so from your perspective, did you find that you wanted to rehearse more in preparation for this because you knew you were going to shoot on 35, or did you kind of go into it in the same vein that you would with something on video?
I think probably a little bit more. We just like went through a few rehearsals, and obviously that's also for camera movement and stuff like that, and with actors just going through it. So I guess we definitely had a bit more rehearsal time, but it is one of those things where, I mean, the first week of shooting, it was only by the end of the week. So we would shoot 3 or 4 days, take the film, post it to the UK. They would develop it, send it digitally back to us. So it was only at the end of the week, you know, we didn't have the dailies to like look at there and then. So it would only be like in a week at the end of the week where we would get the footage back and be like, okay, this is what we shot. And then we would look at it. And I was so nervous, but when we got it back, then I, you know, and looked at the footage, I'm like, okay, we're doing something right. This is great. Because originally, when they approached me to do the film, it was meant to be digital. Then 35 came on board, and I was like, oh, amazing, yeah, okay, let's shoot 35. And then after that meeting, I was always like, oh shit, you know, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be crazy. What if it doesn't come out? Should we have another camera shooting digital just in case? And you know, you think of all these things and. You know, like with any project, you know, you do your pre-prod, you get the right people on board, you get the right DP, you get the right camera loader, and we just had a brilliant team that did everything right, and everything came out. And I understand from you know, shooting on film, it was quite an easy process. And I don't see why people don't do it more. But at the same time, from a producer's point of view, if you fucking lose all that footage or something happens to it, that's a hell of a lot of money gone down the drain. So there are 100% risks. And yeah, it's just crazy. Like, thank God everything came out and everything looked amazing as it did.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry. I just want to say, in terms of shooting on film with Ryan, one of the major differences on this film versus other work that I've done before, is because it's a friend, we had access to the script, the full script, for a good 2 or 3 months before the shoot. Normally on the big international projects that we do, we get the script maybe a week before we shoot. If we get the script, sometimes we just get
get the sides, right?
Yeah. So what that did was, A, we knew we were shooting on film. B, we had the script from a couple of months before that. So Sean and I we actually rehearsed a couple of times on our own. We had a first meeting at a coffee shop, and then the second time we went to his place, and we actually ran through the whole thing and tried to create our characters and try and figure out how they fit into this world. Because when you read it on paper, Chef in particular, it's difficult to understand what he's saying, you know, without trying to figure out what the fuck is this guy on about and what is Ryan smoking. So you know, that took a little bit of work to try and give him some humanity, because I didn't want him to be a caricature. I desperately didn't want him to be a caricature. So yeah, we did some rehearsals outside of Ryan's purview, but yeah.
And there's one video that, I'm sorry, Ryan, to cut you off, but there's one video that you posted on your social media where you did side-by-sides of different characters and the visual inspirations for those characters. Now, was that always kind of just in your back pocket of like, this is what I'm going for, and this is why I'm going for it? And why Kubrick for Chef?
It's just one of those things. I love putting like Easter eggs in movies, and have, again, with Fry Barry, there's like so many like 70s and 80s and early 90s like film references. And as a film lover, I love layering those films, and I love connecting my films. So even with Street Trash, there's all these characters of 80s films. So some people will pick it up and some people may not pick it up. Some people might pick it up the second time they watch it. So with Joe, I always had this image of Kubrick and stuff, and as obviously loving Kubrick and stuff, you know, I had these images, and it's always those same images that you always see with Kubrick, with, you know, the jacket and the orange, and obviously Joe
Shining,
kind of looking like Kubrick and stuff like that. So everything just worked like hand in hand, and you know, it's just cool to have these like little Easter eggs. And I think like these film buffs, you know, like watching Fry Barry, all these people picked it up. And I think Fry Barry and Street Trash is a movie that when you watch the second time, you'll also pick up more things that maybe you didn't get the first time.
There was also a deleted, not deleted, it was cut out of the film, scene where a character that Brian plays It's a massively long, which is why it was taken out of the out of the cut.
It's not
But
that long.
it's about 2 pages, dude. Where Ryan goes on and on about Kubrick faking the moon landings, right, for NASA and all of that conspiracy theory stuff. But at the end of that whole speech, he kind of stops and he looks at Chef and he kind of goes, "You look a bit like Kubrick." At which point, Chef gets up and runs away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think for Ryan, we were kind of hinting that Kubrick isn't dead and he's kind of living in the guise of this guy in a homeless environment in Cape Town in the future somewhere. But yeah, that was just an inside joke that unfortunately ended up on the cutting room floor.
That's a good fucking joke. But let's talk about Cape Town for a minute, because I feel like this film taking place in South Africa, that there's elements of the struggles of South Africa coming out of apartheid that really play into the underlying theme of what this movie is. And can you lean into that a little bit, Ryan, in terms of your approach when writing this story?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the original, the original Street Trash, and at that time there was a lot going on in New York, in the 80s, and people being homeless, and there is that, kind of like social message.
The Giuliani kind of sweep under the rug thing.
Yeah, in California, where I'm from, we had some dignitaries coming from Asia, and Gavin Newsom cleaned the homeless off the streets like it was a magic trick. And
we had that with the World Cup as well in 2010.
And it's almost like they could easily fix this situation. They just choose not to. They allow it to exist and permeate.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and that's why again, it's one of those things where some people might pick it up in the film, and some people might go over the head. But obviously, the whole thing was, it's also looking at what we've been through now. With like nobody talks about COVID anymore, but it's that thing where during COVID, it's fucking crazy. Like people forget how crazy it was. Like the whole fucking world shut down. We were at home. We weren't allowed out. You have to have this jab. You have to have that jab, or you can't travel. You can't go anywhere. You have to wear a mask. So it's that government control. And I think in America here, everybody can relate to that whole thing happening. And during COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of businesses were shut down. A lot of people lost their houses and businesses and stuff. And it's, even before that, obviously there was a lot of homeless, but hectically after that, the homeless thing, it's out of control. It's out of control in America. It's out of control in South Africa. It's crazy in England as well. I'm sure it's a hell of a lot of other places, but it's just out of control. And like you said, it's crazy to know how much money is in the world, or when these things happen and they move them away, or during season or something in South Africa, they get them all out of town and they put put more police and stuff and ship them away where nobody can see them. But it's getting out of control. And, that was the thing I wanted to put in the film, because we see it every day and it's not getting any better. It's actually got worse. And, so I can always look at that point of view, and I've layered that within the story that, the government's rich and the government's in control. The poor is the homeless. There's no middle class. It's that dystopian future. And, we follow these misfits that's, trying to save the day, basically. Yeah. And it's one of those things you'll either get onto it, and some people, because some people, really did speak about the original, that it had that political sort of message, and it is here. But I also can, as a filmmaker, I can also, I put it there and I've laid it there, and it's cool. And if you get it, you get it. But other than that, I can also step back and be like, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm not trying to fucking win an Oscar. It's a fucking melt movie at the end of the day, and it is just a fucking film. But I do like putting those layers in there, because it is crazy times that we live in right now.
And you hit the nail on the head. And when you mentioned it as a melt movie, talk to me about the effects, because the one thing about Street Trash that everybody recognizes is that people melt into toilets and they're just falling apart when they drink the fucking liquor. And you guys had your own approach to that, but it still felt very similar in tone and style, but also kind of updated. And so using special makeup effects, using prosthetics, using, the colors and everything that you guys did. What was that process like for you? Was it like Christmas every morning going on to set and doing that?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid growing up in the 80s and early 90s, it was one of those. I always say it's like going into the video shop, and there's nothing quite like it when you're that age, going into the video shop and looking at a front cover of a movie. You don't even read the back; you just look at the poster art, and you're like, "That looks amazing," and you grab that, and that was a big part of my childhood, watching these 80s and these, prosthetics and gore. So, when I got the opportunity to make this movie, I wanted to play homage and nods to the original film and have this as a loose sequel, and as for a new audience, it could be a standalone film. But looking at the DNA of the original Street Trash, what did everybody like from that? And so obviously it's the in-camera prosthetics. So that was, obviously that's a must to have that, and I fucking love that as a kid growing
And
up.
cock severing.
To be able to sit there and and plan it with the prosthetics guys and say, can we do this, can we do that, and coming up with these ideas, it was awesome. But it was also, it takes time to get it right and to do it. And again, with the DNA of the original, obviously we have to have that multicolored goo, because that was obviously that's the big thing in Street Trash. So yeah, to sit there with Adrian Smith from Creations and just to plan these things and look at it, and as we were shooting, even Joe's spoiler death scene, it was that it was that plan to, whether it's, if you look at some of the melts, whether it's somebody's neck inflating or this or that, all these different things, it's a whole process. And it's basically like loads of cutaways all put together. And sometimes it didn't work out, and we would have to redo the, reset the prosthetic and then shoot it again. And, and at the
that's
same
2
time,
hours down the toilet.
Yeah, yeah. And then we had two 35 millimeter cameras shooting at each time. But yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about your scene, Joe, with your prosthetic.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was right up until it actually went off. It was really fun. So we were doing night shoots in the middle of winter. That's an important factor there. So any of those melts that happen at night, just know that was the middle of winter. Probably 3-4 o'clock in the morning. My melt was at 4:35 in the morning. I remember.
Do you remember how cold it was?
I remember. Excuse me. So it took several hours to put it on, because it was a whole chest and neck piece that went up under my beard. And again, it was like, oh, this is so cool. Again, they tested it out, and it's like, oh, okay, it does this and everything. And then you get on set, and they kind of start plugging you into, I don't know, about 8 fucking 6-foot high gas tanks, and I'm going, that's a lot of that's a lot of compressed air. What exactly are you planning to do to me? And you get one take. I mean, we had one take. We had and we split it in two, because Ryan wanted that moment of the smoke coming out of Chef's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So we shot that part with nothing, and then we shot the full thing. And like I say, it's great until it pops, and then you have ice cold liquid running down every crevice, all the way into your socks, through every single nook and cranny in your entire body, all the way down.
That was a long night. I remember it was a long night.
And then like stripping off and sitting in a tent, like wrapped to a gas heater for like I was there for like 40 minutes while checking, did it work, did it finish this shot and everything, see if we need to do any pickups on that. So fun. I mean, I've done worse. This is the thing. I mean, the first big movie I did was 10,000 BC, and nothing's come close to that. That was hell. When you're sitting in a desert covered in cuts and bruises for 12 hours a day. So since then, everything's been a piece of cake.
You're also in another one of my favorite movies of this year, which is Slay. I fucking adored that movie. And just in preparation, seeing that you were a part of that is just like...
Slay was such an honor, such a pleasure. Again, working with friends. This is one of the things about working as an actor in South Africa is we've got a very small, I mean, there's a couple of thousand, but over 20, 30 years, you've worked with a lot of these people, and a lot of them have become friends. And on Slay, Robin Scott and Richard Wright Firth was in that, who's also in what's this movie? Street Trash. Daniel Janks, who is a phenomenally funny actor. Neil Sandilands is in that from Flash and from a bunch of other American shows. But that was super fun as well. I mean, those prosthetics were, those prosthetics made Ryan's prosthetics like a walk in the park. That was a 5-hour job. I mean, it took 3 hours to put it on, and then about another 40 minutes to take it off. And that was shot in summer, 42-degree heat, 42 Celsius. So that's about 98, 100. Sitting in a prosthetic that's just melting on your face.
Yeah, I spoke to Brendan Murray the other day. I bumped into him, and
Brendan's got the best scene in the film.
Yeah, he's in the opening scene in that chair. When the goo comes out of his eyes and his ears, and stomach opens up. And I was chatting to him. I thought he was in prosthetics for about 5 hours or 6 hours, and I was like totally wrong. And I was chatting to him, and I asked him just like, "Oh yeah, how many hours were you there?" But he was in basically the whole day. It was something like ridiculously long. Like it was over 10 hours. He was in that prosthetics because he got up early to put all the prosthetics on, put all the tubes that go underneath, his skin on his eyes and his ears and all that stuff, and obviously the arms and the hands, the glove, and it was all that. So he spent a hell of a lot of time, and it's only when we wrapped that by the time he got out the makeup, he was saying, I was standing there brushing up all the blood. There was so much fake blood in this place where we were shooting, and I didn't have enough mops and stuff to clean it up. So I was just pushing it around the room to like flatten that out so it would dry.
Okay. So that's amazing. But I know that you guys have to get going. So before I let you go, I want to know what's next for the two of you. When are you guys going to work together again? And what fucked up thing are you going to do to Joe, Ryan?
I'm probably going to chop his head off again. Probably.
Is my head still in the background there? Because you had it on the other interview.
I've got it. Just wait, I'll get it real quick.
In the back there.
Oh, please.
He had my head drying in his shower for a few weeks after we shot.
Did he shower with the head?
You know what? I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to. Look at that.
Definitely Joe from behind that.
No, he's bolder than I am. That looks more like Kubrick than I do. That head.
Do a quick to be or not to be.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah. I'll ask poor Yorick. I knew him well. So fortunately, that mold was done for Vagrant Queen, which is also another series that Jem Garrard directed, the director of Slay.
Yeah.
But because that was the only thing. When I read the script and I got to the page, like Chef's head pops off, I thought, and I called Ryan. I said, "Listen, I can't do another full mold, dude. It is one of the most horrible, horrific experiences of my life. I do not want to go through this again. Can you call this company? Because we did a full mold 2 years ago. Maybe they still have it." And thank goodness they did. So
your head just is getting around.
Just lives in my hallway now.
Your head's
Yeah.
like Ryan, just says yes to everybody. Well,
So what is next, Ryan?
Well, this is the
Inquiring
thing.
unemployed actors want to know.
Yeah. We have there's a few films in the pipeline. I don't know which is gonna come first. So I've got to see what happens there. But apart from that, there is like a proper little cool indie film that I've been shooting. It's a black and white little art house arty little film that I've been shooting, which is really cool, and it's very different than Fryberry. It's very different than Street Trash, and I've been filming it over the last few months, which Joe did a part in it, and it's with Gary Green from Fryberry, and yeah, it's basically about this weird dude, Gary Green, that wants to be an actor, but he's like a terrible actor, and then he ends up going like full method and goes off the rails. So I've only got like 3 days of shooting that, but Joe was in that, and he played this really cool like celebrity actor that Gary's character admires. But yeah, it was cool.
Very cool. Before I let you guys go, let people know where they can find you in the world of social media. I'm going to let Joe go first because I feel like you're going to have a little more to say.
Yeah, he might. So I've moved on to Blue Sky now.
Oh, nice.
So I'm just Joe Vaz. I think it's just jovaz.bluesky.social or something.
Yeah,
and otherwise on Instagram, I'm just Joe Vaz. I might be Joe Vaz actor. I can never remember, but Joe Vaz. I mean, just do a search for that. And also jovaz.com. I mean, that's the easiest place to find it. All my socials are there.
Right.
Cool, man. RyanKrueger.tv or at Ryan Krueger thing on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. Ryan Krueger.
Oh, dude, thank you so very much. And so that is going to do it for us, you guys. And if you're here for just Ryan and Joe, but you've enjoyed the conversation, first off, I don't blame you. Secondly, thank you. But you want to find out more about us, you can do that in a couple of different ways. You can start by liking us on Facebook, facebook.com/CreaturePod, by following us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube at Creature Pod. So wherever in the world of social media you want to find out more about the Creature Features podcast, you go to Creature Pod, you're going to find us. This has been an absolutely excellent conversation, and I want to thank both Ryan and Joe for being as giving of their time as they've been. This is just like for a splatter fan, for a horror fan, to be able to have a conversation with somebody that made something as absolutely excellent as this film was and is, it's just a dream come true. It's going to be available on Screenbox very, very soon, but it is available for rent right now on VOD, wherever you rent on VOD. So go out of your way to rent Street Trash, show independent cinema love, and until next time, for Joe Vaz, for Ryan Krueger, and for myself, again, my name is Chunky. This has been another episode of the Creature Features Podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, listen. Something trust.
It's not paranoia. It's not paranoia. It's not paranoia if they're really coming for you. Street Trash.